Budapest, Budapest. I'm the best. I'm fulfilling on my promise of reviewing Wes Anderson's new film, The Grand Budapest Hotel, which I've promised to basically everyone who's watching this video, because I don't assume there will be many others. I hope there won't be many others, because I'm sure I will come to hate this video as much as the last video I did of reviewing the last Wes Anderson movie, Moonrise Kingdom. Reviewing Wes Anderson movies seems to be my before midnight or up series style check-in. I'll just get into it. The Grand Budapest Hotel is the story of a European hotel during the two world wars, managed by Ralph Fiennes in I think maybe the best performance to ever come out of a Wes Anderson movie, and that is no faint praise at all. The storied hotel. It's very passionately run. It's very elegant. It's wrapped around by two different other narratives. One in the 80s of Jude Law, a character played by Jude Law, basically being told the story of F. Murray Abraham, who was a lobby boy during the time of Ralph Fiennes kind of managing the place. And it's also again wrapped around by a girl who goes to the grave of Ralph Fiennes' character and opens a book that F. Murray Abraham's character had written about the Budapest Hotel. I think this is, in a way, just on that fact alone, it feels like Wes Anderson's most ambitious movie to date. I think when I heard about the plot description of this, it reminded me of like this could be Wes Anderson kind of throw out like a Russian novel, just in terms of like its generation spanning a narrative. And also, as with the Wes Anderson movie, it's less a novel than it is a storybook. I think the way that his movies kind of seem to get better every time you see them, just because they don't seem to, like, their novelty doesn't seem to wear off, just because people have argued that like Wes Anderson movies are all novelty. I don't believe that. I think that Grand Budapest Hotel, and especially following Moonrise Kingdom, which I think is loved generally, but there were a lot of people who were kind of saying that like Wes Anderson is kind of like regressing, or not necessarily regressing, but not really growing at all as a filmmaker, which I think is flat out wrong and incorrect. I think as he's gotten older and the more movies he's made, he has become more of a his movies have gotten very more lyrical and mature. Watching Grand Budapest Hotel, it reminded me of there's seems to be a thread in Wes Anderson movies, and the whole theory of the auteur thing, which I'm a fan of. But I always wonder, like, if filmmaking is as Freudian as that. There's a theme in all of a filmmaker's like filmography. I think with Wes Anderson, I think it might be like secrecy, might be elegance, like a sustained illusion. There seems to be like if you look at like Royal Tenenbaums, or even if you look at Fantastic Mr. Fox to Moonrise Kingdom, there seem to be movies about like secrecy in the underground, which especially comes into play here. They seem to be something like, I mean, Wes Anderson is basically like the pinnacle kind of hipstery filmmaker, kind of like even arguably launched that sort of faux movement. I think his movies are the equivalent of like of albums or books, like something that you really kind of like are very personal. It sounds like a really obvious claim because I can't really put it into words as well. I guess they just feel very directorial. I argued in a review I wrote for Lars von Trier's new movie, Nymphomaniac, that maybe no other filmmaker as Lars von Trier has tried to make his movies feel like novels, maybe just objectively by just like, divvying his movies into chapters. But Wes Anderson really does that too, and I think for two filmmakers who really basically make movies in kind of the opposite sort of fashion, like Lars von Trier's movies are very dry and dark, and punishing, whereas Wes Anderson's movies are very joyous, and they seem to celebrate whatever it is that they seem to be about. But Nymphomaniac and Grand Budapest Hotel, I think, share more in common uh, than one could take at face value. I mean, I've seen the arguments that the character of Joe, played by Charlotte Gainsbourg in Nymphomaniac, is kind of a stand-in for Lars von Trier, and I think that the Ray Fiennes character, Mr. Gustav, in Grand Budapest Hotel, is in a way a stand-in for Wes Anderson, which isn't a huge claim. It's a very obvious claim, but I think it's true. As someone describes him, he thinks that the time that he wanted to live in passed long before he entered the door to the Budapest Hotel and became the manager of the hierarchy. But he sustained the illusion with a real grace. It's basically a perfectly, or not so perfectly, paraphrased quote that would perfectly describe Wes Anderson, the sort of movies that he makes. I could easily see Grand Budapest Hotel becoming my favorite Wes Anderson movie, just because, again, like Nymphomaniac is the most Lars von Trier work that I think Lars von Trier has ever made. I think The Grand Budapest Hotel is the most Wes Anderson-y movie Wes Anderson has yet made, but I also think it's quietly one of his most dazzling, one that I can't wait to revisit. The shitty part about seeing movies that you really want to see very badly and you go out of your way to see is that in a theater you don't know the next time it is you're going to get to see it again, see how much it enriches upon every viewing. I don't think Wes Anderson has made a bad film. It's tough to follow up a movie like Moonrise Kingdom, which I do think is a masterpiece, but I think Grand Budapest Hotel is a movie that Wes Anderson, I go back to how he's criticized for not really making stories as much as he is making like these puzzle boxes. But Grand Budapest Hotel, I think, kind of represents the style in which Wes Anderson has matured as a filmmaker, and he hasn't really gone either in the total opposite direction of saying fuck you to his critics and making something like really solipsistic, more solipsistic than something like Bottle Rocket or Royal Tenenbaums. And he also hasn't gone in the direction of trying to defy his critics, making a movie that really goes against the mold of what you would think a Wes Anderson movie would be. Thankfully, not let any of that bother him. He seems to make the exact kind of movies that he's always made. He seems to just kind of hone his style more and more, I think, with each entry into his catalog. And also with the analogy of like the Russian novel. This is also weirdly, I think, in a way, kind of like Wes Anderson's All the Pretty Horses. Just in terms of plot threads, maybe alone the way it progresses. This is a very dense, for Wes Anderson, it's an epic anyway. It's like it's only an hour and 40 minutes, and yet it just feels really authentic and lived in. I mean, I can't sing the praises of this movie high enough, so I guess I'll end here. Maybe I've covered 80% of the praise I can for this wonderful film. I would give The Grand Budapest Hotel 5 out of 5 stars, obviously. If you go based on my Moonrise Kingdom review, you must think that I give every movie 5 stars. I don't. If I feel a movie deserves a 5-star rating, then I would give it a 5-star rating. And The Grand Budapest Hotel truly does. Maybe Wes Anderson's best, quite possibly my favorite. And yeah, I guess I'll see you in another few years. That is it. Boxes, 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 boxes,